Entering the Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the Week 6 recap, Week 7 spreads, and everything else in between, talking about the week that was in football. Now, Chris Meaney is joining us via satellite, as is Tim Cust, and I am not in studio. I'm at my home studio, where you see me do other shows, because if you Americans did not know, today is Canadian Thanksgiving. So some of us had to be with our families and made that executive decision, but fortunately, we can still make it all work. Meaney, how was your holiday?
It was fantastic. Yeah. Sat back, watched some football, ate some turkey, had a few glasses of vino. Looking forward to the nightcap, and happy to be here, man. No, it was a good day. And it's funny. I was talking to Jake, who joins your show all the time too. He had no idea that Thanksgiving was coming up this week. And it surprises him every year, because I've worked with him for the last 10 years, and every year I tell him Canadian Thanksgiving, and it seems to blow his mind. So no, it's good, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all the Canadians out there.
Yes, and what is it, Tim, tomorrow? Isn't there like an America Day or something?
I believe it's Columbus Day tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds fun. That day hasn't been canceled yet?
No, I don't believe so. Or
I
don't know. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough
soon
about it.
to a holiday near you.
But I celebrate Thanksgiving with my family tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. We're those people that are Monday people. We've always been that way.
You mean the 1% of people out there that are Monday Thanksgiving people?
I can't explain it beyond the fact that we're Monday people. I don't know why.
Well, I will be with Jake in studio doing the power rankings tomorrow and the fantasy recap. And I think I got Vincenzi coming on to talk golf as well. But we're here to talk about week 9. I have a big underdog sweat on the go here, as long as they keep stupid Jared Goff out of the garbage time of this game, which, Meaney, you would think would be the move, considering they're up by, what is it now, 38 points in this game. But I think they want to get to 70 against Dallas and just shame them.
They should. I mean, not for the sake of you losing the bet. I think you're going to be good. 25 attempts for Goff here, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. Man, what a slap in the face for the Cowboys. Like an absolute statement game. They're clearly trying to run up the score. Last year they were trying to get their offensive linemen touchdowns. They're trying to do it again. They had a lot of trickery today. And I think if they really, really wanted to, they probably could have put 70 up on the Cowboys. And maybe this will be it for Mike McCarthy and company, because the defense looks awful. The offensive line is not great. Jerry didn't put this team into a situation to be successful this year throughout free agency and into the draft. Like, they have no run game at all. They didn't even bother to try to run the football today. So the lines look great. I know Minnesota's getting all the buzz and Washington's getting all the buzz in the NFC, but to me, the Lions are the team to beat. They look awesome.
Dallas goes on bye next week too. So if there was ever a time to pull the chute and make a change.
Well, who do you think gets fired first? McCarthy or Doug Peterson?
I think they'll make Doug Peterson coach in London one more time. Then particularly if he should lose to the Patriots, then yeah.
Meaning
they have to swim home.
Yeah, I was say, if the Jags lose to the Patriots next week, I think like it's pretty confident in this that Doug Peterson's going to be fired. But I think they might hire someone to steal his passport so he can't leave the country either, just to fuck with him.
Man, if they didn't have another game in London, he probably would be fired. And that Tim's probably right. The fact that they have another game here, let him coach one more week, but this is a disaster. And Trevor Lawrence has lost his confidence. So if you're the front office and you want to turn things around with your franchise quarterback, you're going to have to make some sort of switch. So there's no question I'd say he's fired first. I don't think Jerry's going to do it. He'll probably take the blame and he'll just ride this thing out with Mike McCarthy and company. But he needs to go as well.
Is there a chance that Ben Johnson's trying to show off to Jera in this game? He's like, hey, look what I can do. I can run a hook and ladders up 35 points with offensive linemen. Why don't you hire me for $1 million a year?
Yeah, he's fantastic. He deserves a head coaching job somewhere. And I mean, he could have had it last year. He wanted to come back with the whole band back together in Detroit, felt like unfinished business. So, if they were my Super Bowl pick, if they somehow find a way to win the Super Bowl, then he could have a list of a dozen teams I'd say that he could go to. Just like Shane Steichen, right? When he was with the Eagles and, he's now with the Colts and he's a bright offensive mind. I think that he's probably the next big OC to get a head coaching job. Really, this offense is fantastic. I mean, there's not a hole there. The offensive line is great. They got the best 1-2 punch on the ground. Goff doesn't have to do too much to be successful. Even Sam Laporta, they get him involved today. He's a one catch. Amner has a down game. He has a catch, and we're getting the breakout that we all wanted to see with Jameson Williams. That guy's phenomenal. So, the Lions they're legit everywhere.
The Lions are everything the Jets should be.
Well,
considering the talent is a boat equivalent between the Jets and the Lions. The Lions are doing everything that the Jets aren't.
The Jets have a bunch of washed up losers. What are you talking about?
In terms of the receiving talent, the running back
talent. Receiving talent. They have Garrett Wilson and a bunch of old dudes.
I don't agree with that.
If the Jets had, or if the Lions had the Jets secondary, they would clearly be the best team in football. It wouldn't be close, but that's the difference, I think, between the two. I'd much rather have the Lions roster, but the secondary in New York is much better.
Well, I had Detroit ranked as number 2 in my power rankings going into last week. Now, obviously, they beat the crap out of Dallas, who was actually pretty low in those power rankings, because they actually might be the worst team in the NFC East, which is strange to think about at this point, with the Giants playing a lot better football right now. We'll see how they do on Sunday night. Tim, who's not scoring the first touchdown tonight?
Higgins.
Oh, man, he's scoring for sure tonight.
All right, so first touchdown, Higgins. Paul, you work on try to figure out what the odds are on that, because I'll have to bet it at some point without looking at the screen when we guess the odds a little bit later on. But if Aiden Hutchinson is done for the year, which I wouldn't say it certainly sounds like he is, but he probably is done for the year. He is the only guy who generates pressure on this D-line, Meaney. Are they screwed on defense now?
That's a problem. Yeah, unfortunately, it does look like a significant injury. I mean, they wouldn't even show the replay. And you can read his lips that, he was saying is broken. So I still think that they can get after the quarterback. But I mean, when you lose a guy like that, the whole dynamic changes. So maybe they'll be aggressive. Maybe, off the top of my head, I can't think of somebody where they can go after, but I'm sure that they will be aggressive and make some sort of move, because like I said, I mean, they have basically every single piece. And the road next week is going to be big. They play the Vikings, but if the road to the Super Bowl goes through Detroit, that's Jared Goff's home and away splits. That's the only thing that kind of takes me back. Like if Detroit had to go into Minnesota or Detroit had to go into San Fran, I don't know how that would go for Jared Goff, but yeah, it's a tough blow. Obviously, he was making noise in that game. He's had a phenomenal season too, so they'll probably add somebody. I don't know who that may be, but they'll probably have to.
You could trade for the bad Josh Allen or any number of good pass rushers the Jaguars don't know how to use.
Why don't they trade for Hassan Reddick?
Great. If you want to pay Hassan Reddick $800 million a game, which is what he wants, then God bless you. Go ahead, have him.
It's crazy because he's not that good. Like Hassan Reddick.
I don't even want him now out of principle. I know the owner tried to give him a big hug this week and said, "Come in and play for us." Like, no, the heck with it. Like, be gone. I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So do you think they can win the Super Bowl still, Tim?
I haven't changed my opinion. Like I said to you, the fact that on the Tuesday show, them firing Saleh was the clearest sign possible.
No, I meant we're not talking about the crappy Jets. We're talking about the Lions.
No chance, Tim.
No, but I didn't think so before, because I think their defense was too terrible before this. They were going to get into a circumstance at some point. We'll get into a circumstance at some point where they're going to get into a shootout and not be able to win.
Well, Meaney, we have good news. The Jared Goff under passing attempts is coming through because Hendon Hooker is in the game for the Detroit Lions now. So fantastic. We're playing it forward. So the underdog play of the night. Let's try to build one out here. I'm just going to roll with the two that I need. I need Wendell higher than 50. I need him higher than 53.5. He's 54.5 now. And I need Slayton higher than 48.5. He's 52. Let's throw both those on and get this meeting. If you have never signed up for underdog before, aka Tim, if you sign up for it right now, you get a free pick of Joe Burrow higher than 0.5 yards if you use code Mayo. Did you know that?
I know it now.
You can even go to one of my tweets where I put the QR code on it and just scan it. You'll be fine.
That's not helping me.
You don't think you could use a QR code? I've seen you use
QR code. I hate QR codes.
Yeah, but how do you hate them? You know how to use them.
I hate them.
Why do you hate
beef
them?
with QR codes? Yeah.
You go to a restaurant, you get a menu, and it's just a big QR code. Like, I should have to do extra work to figure out what it is you're trying to sell me.
Why is it extra work?
Because I should just be able to pick up the menu and look at to see what it is that's available. Instead, I've got to open up my phone, which is impolite at the table to begin with.
All you do
and
is
then
you're
open
on
up-
your fucking phone the entire fucking time you eat.
That's not true.
That is absolutely true.
No, that's not true.
Just like when you tried to peel that orange, then got the juice all over the orange on your phone. Oh, I guess it couldn't have been on the table and open because you weren't using it, huh?
Yeah, well, whatever. Like, it is anyway. I'm not going to get into this any further. I just don't see how it benefits me. Beyond the fact that my pick for your parlay last week hit because Turpin was great last week.
Turpin was less great this week.
Are there odds for all junior tonight?
I don't know if all junior. I'm sure that he does. Let's see. I think
I like his
Gesicki
overs.
Why?
Just feel like they're going to get him involved. It's a big game. He gets involved in big games.
What do you think are his total stats this year? His
I don't
16 and a half receiving yards is his prop tonight.
I like the over on that.
So look, how many yards? Like, give me what you think his stat line for this year if they're always using him in big spots.
I feel like he's probably got 120 yards receiving on like 9 catches all year.
He actually has 14 catches for 92 yards.
Okay, so I'm not right, but I'm not like massively off either.
But you think through 5 games, this is a guy that they turn to in the big situations.
This is what I'm telling you is I like them tonight and in a must win game.
All right,
like
so we're going higher. Do you want to go higher than his receiving total or his reception total?
Receiving total.
So 16 and a half higher?
Yeah.
All right, and you said Higgins, so we'll go throw on Higgins here. Higgins touchdown, Meaney?
Yeah, Higgins touchdown. I think it's like, we're going for underdog, but it's a good price too. Nearly 2-1. I mean, this guy scores touchdowns, man. Higgins is when he entered the league, there was no chase, but he was among the leaders in red zone targets that rookie season. And last week he had a couple touchdowns too. So I like Teehee to have a big game. And I feel like the Bengals should just run all over them, with Moss and with Chase Brown. I mean, I think that they're allowing the second most yards per carry at 5.1. I know they're using both of these guys, but typically the Bengals are a pass happy squad, regardless of the matchup. Even when Mixon had a good matchup, their pass percentage is through the roof. So I'd like T. Higgins to have a day. And I kind of think Tracy Jr. will have a good day too. His rushing intent prop is like 13.5. I think they'll lean on him a little bit. They'll probably be forced to throw the ball to Slayton and Wandell, which is good for you. But I think that Tyrone Tracy Jr. coming off that big game last week with no Singletary, I'd say he gets up to 15 plus opportunities tonight.
All right. So what we can do is we can put those 5 on. Tracy, all Higgins touchdown, and Slayton and Wandale. That pays 26-1. And if you throw on the free Burrow pick, if you are a first-time player at Underdog using code Mayo, then you're off to the races with this one. I think it becomes 50-1, and then you still win if you go 5 of 6 correct as well. So we'll put that in. Let's see. $50 pays $6.55. Try to pay for this show. Try to pay everyone off on the show by winning this Underdog entry. Again, code Mayo at Underdog to get your hands on this. Is Dallas dead, Tim?
Are they dead? No, they're not dead because the NFC is somewhat bereft of like world beater talent. The teams that so no, they're not dead, but they're closer to being on life support.
Meaney?
I'd say they're pretty
dead.
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty close. I mean, out of the bye, they have San Fran. They've never had success against the 49ers. At least recently, they've been blown out in a lot of those games. The one thing I'll say that I agree with Tim, I'm looking ahead of the schedule. I mean, they're going to have the Eagles twice. They're going to have Washington twice, and they're going to have the Giants twice. So
yeah, there you go. So they haven't played any division games yet. It's hard to be dead this early in the year when you haven't played a divisional game yet.
Yeah, and all 4 teams, even Washington, I'm not sold. They hung around. Good for them. They hung around with the Ravens. The Ravens still covered. But there's a lot of holes, I think, in all 4 teams inside the NFC East. And maybe just one of these teams makes it. Heck, if the Giants win today, then they have 3 wins. And, they're not dead. I don't think any of us are picking them, but they're still alive in the division. But the Cowboys have a lot going on. And I would say Washington is better than them right now. And I still believe that the Eagles are. They also have some issues, but Dallas has more issues. Like defensively, they're missing guys. And the offensive line is just not good. And they just can't sit back and chuck. It's like at those years with the Bills, like when they were playing the playoffs and they didn't even try to run the football. It's like I could never take them seriously because, yeah, it's great. Josh Allen's awesome, but you don't want him just dropping back 50 times. You're not going to have success that way. And I'm not going to buy into the Cowboys with no run game at all, and they can't stop the run. So those are two things you need to be successful, and they can't do either of them.
Yeah, 49ers game in 2 weeks is sort of like do or die. If they can't win that game, they're in real trouble. But
it feels like they're in trouble now.
They are.
but but as Chris said, and the important thing is they haven't played a single NFC East game yet. So if they go through that 5-1, then they've got a really good chance to win the division.
I mean, they did beat the Giants already.
my
Oh,
bad.
yeah, so you're right. So they're 1-0 in division. So they still have 5 games left. If they go 5-1 in division, they still have a really good chance to win the division.
If they sweep
Even
Washington,
if they went 5-1 in the division, I don't think that they would win the division.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, Washington.
I mean, they just came off a pretty impressive performance on Sunday night last week, where the world was against them, and they were gritty, and they pulled the win out.
Guess who just fumbled in this game, Tim?
Oh no,
Turpin.
Well,
Oh.
he'll do.
That was a good call last week by you, Tim. Not gonna lie, I was like,
Thank you.
My goodness. Did he drop the ball in the? Was that Tolbert in the sun? Like that's another thing, Jerry. Like there's just so many things to pick on in this Cowboys squad. They make this $1 billion stadium, and it's got sun that can prevent your own players from catching passes.
Yeah,
like,
maybe close
I know
the
it
roof.
could work the other way, but yeah, maybe close the roof. Like, come on, guys. Cowboys are done. Let's say right now they're finished, and even if they do squeak into the playoffs, nobody's taking them seriously.
How do you feel about your Eagles, Meaney?
Not great. No, like this win today was it probably deserved to lose, to be honest with you.
I don't know.
They
about
both
that.
did. They both did.
They
were both
didn't-
trash.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That is not true because like the Eagles didn't play well, but they also had the block field goal return for a touchdown. It's not like Cleveland did anything in the game.
No, Cleveland didn't. So the defense played good, but how good did it play? Because it's Watson. We said this last week. Like, how pathetic is Watson? I mean, his passing yard props 175 for a guy that's like a $240 million quarterback, and he couldn't even do that. They showed a stat on the graphic where he's like 0 for 25 on third downs, his last 25 third downs, and their average on third downs is like 3rd and 9. So like they have the worst third down conversion rate in football. But I saw a little bit as they got going. It was the first game back with AJ and Devontae Smith and Lane Johnson. So there was certainly some rust offensively, but I saw them get going a little bit at the end. But Darius Slay left that game. Jordan Mailata left the game. He's so important to that offensive line.
Goddard.
Nick Sirianni's still Goddard left with the injury. Nick Sirianni's still like just I don't know. He bothers me. So
Did you find it charming when he was screaming at the fans after having won at home? Wasn't that a charming, heartwarming moment for the Eagles fans who got to watch their coach antagonize them after one of the worst possible wins you could imagine for a season that's also quickly going up in flames?
Right. Yeah. It's hard to defend him. It really is. And I've defended him before, but it really is tough because you're 9-point favorites. You just had the division rivals, Washington, absolutely blow the doors off Cleveland. And we all know that they're the worst team in football. The Browns, at least offensively, they certainly are. And Nick Sirianni has to answer to Eagles fans chanting like, fire Nick Sirianni. Like they want him gone. And then he's chirping the fans. And then after the game, he said that his players want Nick Sirianni back. What does that even mean? Like he's saying that the players are like on board with him chirping fans or like being an effing lunatic on the sidelines, because that's what he is. I don't buy it for 1 second. I don't believe that anybody in that Eagles locker room said we need that Sirianni back. That was a douche in Kansas City that time when he was chirping fans too. So the Eagles have some issues. I still like them to win the division. Again, like what Tim's saying with Dallas, like they haven't played Washington yet. They haven't played the Giants yet. You know, if they beat Washington in both of those games, then they should be fine. The schedule opens up for them in the second half.
Most teams won't kick a field goal in that spot to make it 20-16 either. Maybe maybe that's just Stefanski saying, you know what, you're going to make me start this guy when I don't like him and he has no talent. You know what? To heck with it. I'm kicking a field goal because I think my best chance to win is actually my defense getting a turnover and giving me a short fielder scoring. If you're going to make me start Deshaun Watson, fine. You embarrass me, I'll embarrass you.
Can you see a scenario where he quits?
I could see a situation where he like amicably agrees to a separation.
I agree. It's got to be so frustrating. We said this again last week when we watched Cleveland and they had the extra man in the huddle and he just walked off. I said that I felt like his players had quit on him. And there's no question if that money wasn't, that contract wasn't there, we would already see Winston. Like, come on. It's clear. We're seeing other teams go to backup quarterbacks, and Watson's been the worst quarterback in football. In fact, he's on pace to have like the worst season ever for a quarterback. It's that bad. He's got no zip on the ball. Decision-making is not there. I get there's some injuries on both sides of the football on the offensive line, but Stefanski would have already made the switch. He's short answers, his short answers when he's asked about certain things. He's lining up like 3 wide more than ever. He's just showing the organization, like, you want me to play this guy? Fine, I'll play this guy. And here you go. I'm prove to you that he can't do anything out there. So, man, that would be hilarious, actually, if Stefanski just walked
soon
up
enough.
and said, I'm done. See you
Or
later.
soon enough, he's got to say to them, it's me or him. If you want him to keep starting, you got to let me go, because the teams will crawl across broken glass to hire him in the offseason if he left. So you just, at some point, you got to say, I've shown you now for 6 weeks he can't play football. I'm going to bench him. If you tell me I can't bench him, you need to relieve me of my responsibilities, or we need to come up with an agreement where I get out of here. How much longer can you stand there and be humiliated as a coach answering questions when you know, and everyone knows, that he can't play?
And maybe they're cutting him in backdoor equity into the Browns.
They already gave it all to Deshaun Watson. What more money do they have to give away?
Well, you cut them in like, hey, you're Stefanski. You're now like 7% owner of the Browns. Hell, 1% owner would probably be good enough. Then you'd sit there and be like, all right, I'll take my equity, shut my mouth, and move on. I don't really have to do anything. It's to play Watson, and we're going to lose. Who cares?
Yeah, who knows, man? I've seen a majority of quarterbacks over the last 2 years that have faced the Eagles have carved them up. Like, seriously, their secondary is not good. They have some, Quinton Mitchell's just a rookie, and I really like him, but their secondary, especially Slay, left that game early, and he wasn't able to do anything. Watson in that game. So
in their defense, they shut New Orleans down earlier this year too. So maybe the defense is playing a little better than we anticipated for Philadelphia, if the offense hasn't maybe taken a step back or so.
It's difficult to assess with their defense, and especially with the New Orleans offense as well, because the New Orleans offense looked good for 2 weeks, and then it looked like absolute trash. And then you get to today, where was that the most fun game of the day, or was it still Baltimore and Washington?
That was the most fun game, I think. New Orleans and Tampa. Everything was happening in that game. We had everything, right? Punt return, all kinds of picks, turnovers. Tampa ran the ball better than they ever did, really, with Rachaad White on the sidelines. And Spencer Rattler is fun. Like, he's running. Bub Means. Scoring touchdowns.
We were big fans of Bub Memes in the room this afternoon.
Well, it was funny because I was sitting there, I was watching the game with Tim and Jared, and I had this big bet on Tampa Bay at -2.5 from earlier in the week, and it's -3.5. They jump out to a 17-point lead. It's like, all right, here we go. And then just all of a sudden, 27 points in the second quarter for New Orleans. And it was just really funny with the amount of points that were in that game. Like, Chris Godwin and Baker were good fantasy-wise. And that was kind of like Kamara had an okay game, and everyone else kind of sucked. Like, no one started Sean Tucker or Bub Means. It was all just jabronis doing all the work.
You're not wrong. Mike Evans was shut down again by Lattimore. I know he left with an injury, but he came back. He didn't look 100%, but it was really just Godwin and Bucky Irving fell into, a great situation. And I really wonder moving forward what Rachaad White's role is like when he comes back, because he's been the least efficient running back in the NFL since he entered. He's good in pass protection situations, but clearly Bucky Irving is better. He's got more burst. It's like when you watch ETN and Tank Bigsby. ETN clearly dealing with something. There's an injury there, but these two running backs, these young running backs, are knocking on the door for more touches. So Tampa's interesting. I know Atlanta won today, but the Saints are done now. We can all agree that they're dead too, right?
It's hard to call anyone. I mean, Atlanta does look a lot better, and it looks like it's going to come down to Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Cam can no longer take the Panthers on the Best Bet show, Tim.
Well, that's what he said. But, he also had the Saints as his best bet last week, and then he changed it to Cam. I do believe he won't take it, because Rob promised he wouldn't let Cam take it. And I believe that Rob will hold him to that.
But Rob also thinks that if you get on a plane and travel like 2 time zones, that you might like spontaneously combust. Well, if you've never done it before, I'm going to have so much fun with this.
Neither of you seem to know how many time zones were between Miami and Seattle, and then he really didn't know how much. Yeah,
Well, I get that he should know because he lives in that time zone.
Because he kept saying 4, and I was like, no, Patrick, no. I was on the other end listening to it. That's from here.
It's
4
from here.
hours.
It's 4. Yeah, so it's 3 from there, but it's 4 to London from here too.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's 5 from there. Either way, it's the same.
Yes.
Jacksonville didn't even get there until like Thursday night or something.
No, his analysis was right for this coming week. It is wrong for last week. And, the Bears are an actual good team. And, I picked them to win the Super Bowl or to make the Super Bowl at the start of the year. I don't know if I would pick them again right now if I were given the pick. But, there aren't many NFC teams I'd rather have than the Bears if I had to go into the rest of the NFC season with it.
Well, here's the problem with the Bears, Meaney, is that they're good. They're probably still the worst team in the division.
Yeah. As you know, all offseason I was talking about the AFC North being the best division in football, maybe in sports, but it's the NFC North. And I still am not completely sold on the Vikings, and I should be because they're well coached and, their defense is playing pretty good and they have Justin Jefferson. But I think in the playoffs is where we're really going to see Sam Darnold. I wouldn't give Sam Darnold the benefit of the doubt against the Lions in a playoff game or against the 49ers in a playoff game. But the Packers, right? And Jordan Love in that offense is looking really good now that he's healthy. So yeah, if I would have ranked them, I'd probably say 4. I can't not have Minnesota at least 2, given the start that they've had, and the Lions are going to be at number 1 for me. But yeah, bold pick there by you, Tim. I was unaware that you had the Bears there, and they're for a number 1 overall pick and a quarterback in Caleb Williams. We've never seen a number 1 overall pick have a winning record after 5 weeks, and they rattled off another win. So the offensive line playing good. Swift, I've been pretty hard on DeAndre Swift this season. He looks good. And yeah, Caleb spreading it around. Caleb looks really, really comfortable now. After the first couple of weeks, he did not look comfortable, and the offensive line wasn't doing any favors. But defense is playing good. Yeah,
they're getting better. They're getting better every week. That's the encouraging thing. Every week they look better than the week before last, and so there's reason to be hopeful.
They have been looking better, but they've also played the absolute dregs of the NFL in terms of defense. They played 3 of the bottom 4 defenses in the league the last 3 weeks.
That's
and
why
it's all teams that
good days.
Jacksonville was getting a little bit of pressure today, just a little bit with the bad Josh Allen. And I had to get Tim to concede that he kept calling the Buffalo Josh Allen, the bad Josh Allen. But I think when the other guy has to change his name from Josh Allen, he's officially the loser.
Looking at the Bears schedule right now,
the next 3 weeks are after the bye are relatively comfortable.
But their final 8 games are against good teams only.
Oh man, it is a bloodbath. Yeah, they're gonna week 11 on Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Fran, Minnesota, Detroit.
That's tough, but if it's a race we probably need to get them to 10 to get into the playoffs. So they're already at 4, and they probably are in a good shape to win their next 3. So we can get them to 7. Then they only need to play 40% football down the stretch to get in.
I mean, I don't know how in great shape they are to win their next 3. They're going to be under. I mean, I guess we'll see here, although that's in 2 weeks' time because they're going on bye week. But at Washington's no layup game.
No, that's a tough one for them, and even at Arizona.
Who knows if Arizona's not coming off a win the week before, they'll probably kick the shit out of Chicago because they're just zig and zag every single week. But you could tell very quickly. When there's no pressure on Williams, they can do things offensively and they can commit to running the ball without having to put too much pressure on him. Then he starts looking a little bit better and he can start scrambling around. But the Jags showed you the blueprint of how to beat this defense. They just got away with it. And they're so very poorly coached that, of course, they got away with it. Then they started making bonehead turnovers. But it's not like the Bears generate a ton of pressure. You can dink and dunk them to death if you wanted to. Their entire defense is structured around not giving up huge plays, which they don't. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes their defense so good right now. But if a team
what did I say to you in the room? The teams they play in the NFC North love to go deep and are not the methodical teams as much. So that does
I would say that Detroit does take shots, but they usually hit their shots because it's to wide open guys. Detroit loves dinking and dunking.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do.
The Packers, you're absolutely right. The Packers love taking shots, and Jordan Love is kind of like the better version of Trevi right now. He just enjoys a good, catastrophically bad throw that works out. Like he
Yeah,
had
he's had
one
a-
today.
he's had a
His
lot of
second
those.
touchdown to Romeo Dobbs today was reminiscent of the Joe Flacco to Michael Pittman touchdown that won the game. Like these like back foot lobs that should be picked off by 8 guys, yet just magically comes down in their guys' hands.
Yeah, I think there was a debate on Twitter between sites on his drop rate, and of course we were involved with it at FTN. But a lot of sites had Jordan Love with like the largest drop rate, but we were charting him as like inaccurate throws. Like there was just some very tough throws, especially in the Vikings game a couple weeks ago where he had the 3 picks. He was missing guys, and I'd say Green Bay actually is probably the team that I'm probably most sour on, given the 4 inside the division. But yeah, you're right about the Bears defense. They stop the run, they don't give up big plays. Got a nice secondary there. And man, when Caleb Williams has some time, he's got listen, there isn't a quarterback that was ever in a situation that's better as a first overall pick. To have Keenan Allen back, a veteran presence like that, to have him show up and have 2 touchdowns. DJ Moore was just short. And then you have Cole Kmet, who's a mismatch as well. So, I mean, Roma Dunze, it's a nice offense.
Yeah, I guess my entire point is, you might not be wrong. Like they are a good team, but it's very hard to tell how good they actually are right now because they just play loser teams.
Yeah, we'll see down the stretch.
But they also in the NFC where it's mostly loser teams.
But again, I just gave you 3 teams that are probably better in their own division than them.
Yeah, but we look at that division, you look at the quarterbacks when push comes to shove. Do you really trust Darnold? Do you really trust Goff? No, not really. Love, I suppose, a little bit more, but like
I mean, I trust
stack up the
Goff
quarterbacks.
to
It's
do
not
what
like
Goff
these-
does. Like
Which
we
is-
have a 3-year sample or 4-year sample of him in Detroit now where he does the same thing every game.
I also think that there are more loser teams in the AFC, Tim. Like seriously, go up and down. The Colts, the Titans, the Jags, they're all losers.
It's
The
3
Steelers,
teams
we're
that
not-
by the way, 3 teams the Bears have played, by the way.
Right, all loser squads. Nobody's taking those teams seriously. The Browns are a joke. The Steelers got a good defense. They're just winning games because they played brutal teams. Look at who they've played. Awful teams. The Chargers, I'll give some credit to the Chargers coming off the bye. Even
they look
Herbert
good.
lacking weapons, they look good. Broncos aren't good. Broncos aren't as good as their record. The Raiders are not good. The Pats are atrocious. The Dolphins are nothing without Tua. So I think that I think if you're naming 10 teams in the NFL, the best squads, I'd say like 7 of them are in the NFC. 6 of them are in the NFC for sure.
Yeah, like I think the Bears are better than Arizona, but they're right around like the next level up from that team, which puts them right around mid tier. Like, do you think that the Seahawks or the Bears are better, Tim?
I think the Bears are. The Seahawks have some real massive defensive issues that I don't know that they could fix.
I agree.
That's fair, but they're around that. I think they're closer to that range, and I actually think that, like honestly, like Minnesota's probably closer to them as well. And Minnesota's just playing a little bit above their skis right now. That I could see Darnold going full pumpkin here in October.
No.
But I mean, you're the one who had the utmost faith in him when he was awful on the Jets. It is kind of funny that you don't have the utmost confidence in him now when he's on a better team and playing well.
I don't have confidence in him, but I hope he does well. I'm very I know they play Detroit this week. I'll be very fascinated to see how they scheme him in that game because he's going to have to score 30 plus points to win. They're not going to be able to win a game 20-21.
Oh, I don't know in this game against Detroit.
Detroit is unstoppable unless they stop themselves. The only time they didn't score a ton of points this year was basically against Tampa, and that because they kept imploding in the red zone. If they don't stop themselves, they're kind of unstoppable offensively.
I see you say that. However, Meaney, to take a look at their schedule so far this season too. They have played, I mean, the Cowboys would have been fine, but no Parsons, no Lawrence. They haven't really played anyone who pressures the quarterback either. If there's one thing Minnesota's gonna do is try to rattle Goff, and that's part of the Goff blueprint in a lot of ways, that if you can get to him, then all of a sudden he's throwing 3 picks.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that 100%. And the one game that Tim alluded to was that Tampa game, and they did struggle inside the red zone. And I thought they got away from their game plan because Jared Goff threw the football like 55 times in that game, and it was a 1-score game essentially the entire game. And that's just not what they should be doing, right? They run the rock with those 2 backs and that offensive line. But yeah, moving forward, Minnesota's definitely going to be able to get some pressure, but the Titans and the Packers, I don't think. You see week 10 against the Texans, that's a team that can dial up some pressure. And then, we'll see a couple matchups there against the Bears and the Niners as well. But I think that it's going to be very telling for both teams. Like, we already know Detroit's good, and we're talking about their offense being elite. But I think it'll be more telling on where this Viking squad is. And I know that they made Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud look silly, but this offense has been awesome for a couple of years. So if they could slow them down and hold them to 21 points, I think that would be a massive win. And you're not wrong. Jared Goff, it's like Derek Carr. When the Eagles got pressure on Derek Carr, that offense didn't play good in that game. That's what they wanted to do. That's what the Saints, McClin Kubiak, they want to run the football and set up the play action, take some shots with Sheet Shahid. That's what we've seen all year. Detroit kind of plays a very similar way. They run the football, they're taking shots down the field with JMO, and they obviously have better weapons.
Who did you think was better today, Tim? Rattler or Drake May?
Drake May.
I mean, the stats would tell you yes, but he had kind of greasy stats.
But for a rookie in his very first game, he made some fantastic throws, and
he was also the third pick, not a fifth round pick, too.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
He made some really, really nice throws today in a really tough spot to come in. I didn't mind it. I thought, actually, if you're a Patriots fan, you should have some relative level of optimism that he looked okay today.
Yeah, he most definitely didn't embarrass himself. Obviously, he's supposed to be their future, Rattler not. But Meaney, I was telling Tim earlier that I thought it was funny to see a mobile quarterback in the backfield for the Saints. It just feels like they haven't had that in forever.
I can't even remember the last time. I mean, obviously, Drew Brees never ran.
Like Aaron Brooks.
Yeah, wow.
That game that they started
Taysom, and he was running early on in his career. But yeah, Spencer Rattler, I mean, even Drake May, we know that he can run. He hit his rushing yard prop, I think it was 30 and like close to 40. But Spencer Rattler could certainly run. And I'm sure like Clint Kubiak will, he's a heck of a play caller, and to have a dual threat quarterback, maybe he can do some things moving forward. I'd say they're going to roll with him over and if Carr is ready to go in, 4 weeks and they haven't rattled off any wins, what's the point? Just continue with Spencer Rattler. Maybe he'll be a top 20 quarterback given the rushing upside, but I'd say Drake May as well. Like, he made some nice throws. The offensive line didn't do him any favors. And I think that was part of why they waited so long to throw him out and the weapons, but Jacoby Brissett wasn't doing this. Jacoby Brissett wasn't throwing 3 passing touchdowns and moving the football like this. So he hit some of these wide receivers. I was in on Jalen Polk. That was a bad call. He didn't do anything in that game, but if you look up and down, I think everybody had a catch in that wide receiver room.
Did you watch much of Denver and the Chargers, Tim?
I watched a lot of that game, actually.
I didn't see a ton of it outside of the first, probably 15 minutes or so, even before the first quarter ended. And the Chargers were very much in charge of that game, kind of doing whatever they wanted. But every time it would just I would see it would flash over to the Denver game, because I came home away from all the TVs and was just kind of trying to pick and choose the games I could watch. Every time I flicked it on, each Broncos offensive play. Remember when Homer took over coaching the team and he just had the electronic football games? Like, you two people vibrate that way and you run around in circles. That was every offensive play for the Broncos.
Yes, it's very discouraging to watch that Broncos team somehow, who beat the Jets 2 weeks ago, play like that. Like, they're such a bad team. That's such a bad team. The Chargers just took them apart. The Broncos didn't know what they were doing offensively, and the Chargers looked so confident. That game was a 30-point difference, not a 7-point difference.
But isn't that sort of the problem with the Chargers, Meaney, is that they can't get up by enough to put teams away?
Yeah, like, I'm still not sure how good this team is. They're better coached. And you look and they have, on paper, they have a great roster. And despite the lack of weapons, I think that Justin Herbert has, but they want to run the football. It's clear they want to run the football. They're going to continue to run the football. Even when they're down in games, they want to run the rock. And I don't think that's a bad thing. They have an identity. And they're pretty good at doing it. And J.K. Dobbins having a really good season. Rookie Vidal had a nice reception touchdown. So, see a little bit more run from him moving forward with Gus Edwards sideline. But yeah, when they get into these games where, they have a team that can push the pace, like, that's another team too, where I look and I'm like, how good are they? Because they played the Raiders, the Panthers, the Steelers. They hung with KC. Like, that was very impressive. And Denver moving forward, they got a lot of a few games that, teams are not going to be able to push the pace. We'll get a good feel again, like Cincy and Baltimore down the stretch. But I don't know, when they get into a battle with an AFC juggernaut, I don't know if they can really keep up. The wide receiver room is pretty inexperienced.
If we were to put them, Tim, with the rest of the teams, and maybe Feinberg's the guy to ask about this, but like, would you take them or Pittsburgh rest of the season?
Chargers.
The Bengals or the Chargers?
I guess the Bengals. If I could wipe the records clean.
Yeah, but I guess we can't wipe the records clean.
Like them being 1-4 is such a disaster. But I still think the Bengals are like if they were play each other head to head in London, I would pick the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals would probably be favored. Like, are the Chargers better than the Bills and Jets?
They're right on par. They're right there.
Are they as good as a Tua-led Dolphins team?
I think they're a little better.
So they're a playoff team then.
I think so. The way they've been playing. And Chris laid it
Probably
out too. There's a lot of dregs in the AFC where, if you can find your way to 9 wins, you're probably going to get to play in the playoffs. That team competently coached with a very good quarterback. Few teams can boast that. Now they've got a 3-2 record and a division that has 2 bad teams in it and the Chiefs. And they only have to play the Chiefs one more time.
As an update, there may not be a Sunday Night Live next week. I have some personal matters to attend to, and hopefully I will be here to do the show and there'll be no problems. But if not, there could be a 1-week cancellation. Then I'll be back on Monday or the next week of when we do the spread show and then get back to Sunday Night Live. Just a heads up for everyone. So super smash the like while you're here and use code Mayo right now and get that Joe Burrow free pick. If you're a new customer, we kind of buried it all day. Meaney, what were your thoughts on the Washington-Baltimore game? And is St. Just the worst defensive player in football?
Yes. Thoughts were that they hung around. I thought that Baltimore was because there's been some teams over the past couple of years, Detroit again, right? You remember last year Detroit was so awesome, and then they went to Baltimore and they I think they got shut out. They definitely lost by like 40 some odd points. So as a rookie quarterback going into Baltimore against Harbaugh and company, and he held his own. Jaden Daniels again. Terry McLaurin had a couple touchdowns here without Brian Robinson Jr. was a big part of their run game. So I was impressed, and I was more so just looking at the defense, and I was thinking to myself, like, I think that the offense can score some points against Baltimore, but can the defense? Because that's the biggest question I have with this squad. Is the secondary actually okay? Is the defense decent enough to win the division and maybe win a couple playoff games? And I thought that they did okay in that game. They kind of held Lamar in check, didn't stop Henry, but nobody has shown that they can stop Derrick Henry this year. Derrick Henry every week is what he's doing every single. His touchdown prop was like minus 400. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. For 2 touchdowns was plus 200, and of course he did it. So they impressed me. I still am not sold on them being a top 5 team, where I see some team like power ranking wise, and they're definitely behind the Lions and the 49ers for me. And I'd say they're still behind. I'd say they're behind the Vikings and the Bears as well.
I think they would eat San Francisco for breakfast.
Yeah, I think they're probably.
If they were to play on a neutral field, they would be favored against San Francisco.
I think they're probably the second best team behind the Chiefs.
I don't know. I think the Lions may be better.
Well, I don't think the Lions without Hutchinson are going to be all that good.
And their defense wasn't good to begin with.
Yeah, but he was at least he had the most quarterback pressures of anyone in football.
Yeah, I don't know. Baltimore might be this. I refuse to not put Minnesota and Kansas City 1-2 till they lose games. So,
we all know the Vikings aren't that good.
They've beaten some good teams.
They're all right. They're a top 5 team. Like you said, if they were to play the Ravens, you would let's say I made the game a pick 'em. You would pick Minnesota over Baltimore on a neutral field?
No, I wouldn't.
So then you think Baltimore's a better team?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the difference between power rankings and teams.
I certainly don't think they're better than San Francisco. I think San Francisco is not nearly as good as Baltimore right now.
No, but San Francisco, even with the win on Thursday night, like they're 3-3 now?
Yeah, like they're still a really good team, but like I think the Ravens would eat them alive.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are better than the Niners right now, at least.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I remain a little bit skeptical of San Francisco. I mean, they're a very good team, but they're not as what some of us thought they were going to be.
No, but they're still trying to round into form as well. Like they're just like the Chiefs. They don't really need to be awesome right now. They need to be awesome 3 months from now. Exactly.
And that's the thing when you get into power rankings, you have to, you you give the teams credit for what they've done, as Tim's saying, like until the Chiefs lose a football game, until the Vikings lose a football game. But you just asked him, and I was going to ask him the same thing. Like, in London, Vikings versus Ravens, who are you picking? Like, and I still think, even though the Niners lost in Minnesota, I still like the Niners more than the Vikings, and they'll get right. They'll figure this out, CMC or not. They are missing some players defensively. Ayuk was away from the team, didn't get going for the first few weeks. Debo missed some time. Like, they're still, them and the Lions are still, I think, on a tier by themselves. I'm not ready to put Washington anywhere close to either of them.
Well, let's talk about Washington. Like, maybe you just have a Washington bias because you're all Eagles all the time. I'm pretty sure you just said that Philly's the best team in football. I'm not sure if I heard that right. Was that true?
That's false.
Sirianni, coach of the year, Jalen Hurts MVP.
No. Hurts has got some things to figure out. He's played awful football all year.
I just want to see Rick Sirianni be Nick Sirianni. That's what I want.
What does that mean? What is that?
Maybe the Jets. Maybe the Jets can trade for him. He can be their new coach.
That's Jets level. I can see the Jets screaming. This Jets coaching staff screaming at their fans. Like, that's stooping to our level.
Who is this guy who's the Jets coach?
Name is Ulbrich.
Who is he anyway?
He was calling the defensive plays for the Jets, like with Saleh, underneath Saleh. So I don't know. I hope he's good enough that he's the permanent coach because he produces. I don't know.
He was OC in Tennessee for a couple of years, and they had success running the football with Henry. But I asked you last week, Tim, like, what needs to change with this team, and that's what I think needs to change is run the football. And
yeah,
that's what
Buffalo's
I would want to
see
tomorrow. Yeah,
they should be
I
running
would
a
imagine
bunch.
I think they'll lean on Breece Hall in that football game.
If Rodgers has to throw it more than 35 times, then they're cooked.
Yeah, that can't be the recipe for success for them. They got to lean on Breece. They got to get a run game going.
So you think that Washington is well below this tier, Meaney, then?
Detroit and San Fran. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I think they're very much like, look, if we were to do power rankings, which I do on Mondays, everyone should tune in. And they're going to be in the newsletter tonight. I'll have my first run of them. If you just sub for free down in the newsletter right now, you can find them. But honestly, if it was a pick'em spread, Washington against Minnesota, I'd probably take Washington.
I would not.
I don't think I would either. It's the defense. It would come down to the defense for me. That's it. Like on, again, both sides. I'm still just not sold on Washington's secondary. Just like Tim's
Washington's
not sold
secondary
on
is bad.
Detroit's secondary.
But Washington's at least, what they did a very good job today, and like they very clearly had a game plan, and it worked to an extent, was they were not going to let Lamar beat them on the ground. They were just like, you can have what you have. It's going to be hard to stop Henry. We're going to sacrifice Zay Flowers onto St. Just, and that's going to be how you have to run your offense. And that worked. Lamar got out of there once, but for a team that like does not have a great D, the fact that they were able to do one thing very well, and their offense finally got stymied a little bit, but I still think this is like a top 5 offense going forward.
Maybe
in all of football.
Yeah. I don't know if we include CFL teams or college teams, but in the NFL at least.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe knocking on the door for top 5. Green Bay, they're probably right there with Green Bay and Chicago and Meaney.
Well,
maybe
Chicago's most definitely not a top 5 offense.
I don't think that Washington is either. So I'm just trying to put teams
there.
That I
have
think
Detroit.
Are close.
Who are the best offenses then? Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco, probably.
San Francisco, yeah.
If the game is on the line, then it's Kansas City, but they don't play that way. Like it's like those old Patriots, like that, not the high octane Patriots teams, but if you absolutely need 7 points, just say like Tom Brady will get you that. That's what Mahomes is now. It's like, oh yeah, he'll get you that when you need it.
I think Tampa's offense is better than their offense.
Than
Tampa's
Washington?
Yeah, and they blew them out already this year. And like Tampa scores tons of points. Tampa has far more talented receivers. And I don't know. I think outside of quarterback, and
the
gap's not huge. And the gap's not in
position.
And I don't think the gap is massive between Baker and Daniels either. Although Daniels is better. I think Tampa's offense, pound for pound, is a better offense. I'd pick them against Washington again. If they'd play each other, I'd expect Tampa to win, and I'd expect Tampa to score more points.
Well, I'd like to see where they match up historically now after they've had a bit of a down game, against Baltimore, because coming into this week, they were the fourth best offense of the millennium through 5 games.
Okay,
Yeah,
but the
and
99
even-
Rams, they're not. Like I don't.
No, but that's the
believe
thing. Like they weren't the 99 Rams, they weren't the 2007 Patriots, and they weren't. I think it was like the 2001 Rams, and then it was Washington so far this year.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
okay.
offense is good. Hard to argue. I like Tim's point on Tampa. They may be the highest scoring team in football now. I think they were right there with Washington, anyways, before the 50 spot. But these were the 2 weeks that I was looking forward to seeing. Was against Cleveland and Baltimore, and they scored 34 and 23 points. Although I didn't think Jaden Daniels had a great game against Cleveland. 14 for 25 through one touchdown. I thought the defense.
I'm glad I'm not the only
plays.
person out here who's a little bit skeptical of what Washington's doing. Chris is on the same page as me. I don't believe yet either.
I'm
I remain
alone. It
somewhat
feels
skeptical.
like, yeah, me and you maybe were alone. Even on the series show, like last week, Dane had him as a top 5 team, and it blew my mind.
I don't think they're a top.
No.
I'm with you guys on versus San Francisco and Baltimore, and
But the
you have to
offense,
give Minnesota the credit of where they're being. But I do think that Minnesota and Washington are probably a lot closer to each other than they are to some of these other teams.
I think if they were to play
Yeah.
the Eagles on a neutral field right now, Philly would be favored, and I would take the Eagles.
No, you wouldn't. You would absolutely. All you do is shit talk the Eagles all day about how terrible they are.
Yeah,
There's
but the
no
Eagles-
way you would take the Eagles.
I would still take the Eagles.
You wouldn't.
Eagles are
Meaney,
terrible.
would you take
But
if
still would
this
take
week,
them.
week number 7, where they played in? There was a London game, Washington and the Eagles. Do you think the Eagles would win?
No, I don't. Like right now, I don't. I think there's time to get right for Philly. Again, it seems like I make excuses for this team, but I've actually been pretty hard on them the past couple of years. Like since they lost Shane Steichen, it's like you look at Jalen Hurts, it's every year going back to college, it's like a new OC, a new offense to pick up, and he's not picking it up. And today was the first game since week 1 where he's had everyone, Devontae and AJ and Lane Johnson, and Saquon. So I actually think they have potential. They should be a better offense than Washington. They really should. I mean, they have a better offensive line. They have more weapons. I don't know. Jaden is already better than Jalen, probably. But they should, I would say, like week 7, Washington. Week 14, Philly.
Maybe,
That
unless
makes sense.
Daniels gets better.
And he may. And maybe they add somebody, right?
Yeah.
Other than Terry. When we get in these situations, like somebody else has to step up. That's what I was like. Who besides Terry?
Tough catches today.
He did, but he's not a legitimate 2, I don't think.
No, but like Eckler was used a bit more, and like them not having Brian Robinson was huge offensively for them.
Absolutely. That's a good call. They were without
Like
their starting running back.
they tried running with Eckler. That was not a success.
No, never is. I love Eckler, but he's not a between the tackle type runner. He didn't have 100-yard games with the Chargers. So, but it's a nice 1-2 punch, and you're not wrong about being without Brian Robinson Jr. He had 5 touchdowns through 5 weeks. So he's a really good back. I guess I'm just not there yet. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, you don't want to believe, because it's bad news for your Eagles if Jaden Daniels like actually an MVP candidate.
Sure, they beat the Eagles anyways. The last couple of years, they played them twice with Heineke or whoever the hell it was. They play Philly really, really tough. So no, I wouldn't be shocked if they beat them in both games this year. No,
Thomas W in the chat, Tim, says that Eckler looks short and fat on TV. What he needs to do, you know what the answer is, right?
They just not let it number to number 3, and then he
Yeah,
would immediately take off 15 pounds.
Yeah, just become number 4 or number 1 or a skinny 7 on your jersey. Woo! It's like you drop 50 pounds.
But not 0.
No, 0 is a thick number, and people shouldn't wear 0. Well, I get the freedom of number choice in football now. I still don't like it. Like, the Browns deserve everything they get for having Amari Cooper being 2, Jerry Jeudy being 3, and Elijah Moore being 8. Like, it's so stupid. I hate it.
I don't like 0 either. Why would anyone pick that number?
Lame.
I mean, Gilbert Arenas. That's it.
That's who I think
Yeah,
of all the
there's
time.
a role. There's a role model.
0.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. When was the last time that you had the guts, Tim? You could learn. You could get some confidence from Gilbert. You could walk into a locker room with 3 guns, say, "Hey, pick the one you want me to shoot you with." You don't have that sort. You don't have Gilbert confidence.
Didn't Gilbert Arenas purchase a great white shark and put a tank in his house or something for a shark?
That sounds like something Mike Tyson would have done.
I think
He
you're
bought
right.
a tiger. I think Gilbert Arenas bought a shark.
I think he bought something like that. Yeah.
I see. Do you have buying shark confidence?
No, that I do not have.
See, you don't have pick the gun for me to shoot you with confidence, shark confidence. Like, you can learn a lot from Agent Zero.
Nope. He's not buying it.
Thanks for the contributions here. Let's get to the spreads. If you missed it, T. Higgins, not the first touchdown, according to Tim, and code Mayo at Underdog get you a Burrow free pick for this evening. And if I can get some hires on Wendell Robinson and hires on Darius Slayton-Meaney, I win 10K, so I'll be very happy about that.
And you should be. I mean, Slayton's coming off the big game last week at the century mark. Got to feel like the Bengals are going to be able to score points in this game. I mean, their offense has been good. They don't have 4 losses because their offense has been trash. I mean, week 1 was brutal against the Pats, but ever since they've had Chase and T. Higgins, they've been good. So I expect them to flirt with 30 points. So you should see some chucking in the game from Daniel Jones. Slayton, it seems like he just throws the football to 2 guys. You know, it was Malik Neighbors and Wandell. Malik Neighbors is gone, and Slayton's that other guy. Theo Johnson may get involved a little bit, but I like it. I like your chances here tonight.
I just need one of them to get over early, and then I can like hedge against it on somewhere else. So that would be fantastic. Although
Wandell's the one you'll have to sweat, I think.
What's that?
Wandell's the guy I think you'll have to sweat tonight.
Maybe. We'll see about that. And if anyone missed it, Meaney, tell everyone they can find your hockey picks, because I texted you the other day. I won $4,000 on your hockey picks.
Amazing. It's fantastic that you were able to win. FTN Fantasy had a brutal night yesterday, so I'm glad I didn't send you the picks yesterday. It was an awful Saturday. I think I got almost everything wrong. But what? Yeah, Tuesday.
I believe Mike Bullard has passed away.
Are you serious?
I'm seeing this on Twitter.
Oh my God. So do you know who Mike Bullard is, Meaney? Besides being a dead guy?
Is the comedian?
Yeah, he hosted this late night show in Canada. Yeah, he did die.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, Tim was going on and on about what happened to Mike Bullard earlier today. His show, everyone watched his show. Everyone knows who Mike Bullard is. Now he's dead.
Nobody's mentioned Mike Bullard for our American. Nobody's mentioned Mike Bullard in the last decade. At least
decade,
20 years.
Decade is generous, Paul.
It's very crazy generous. You guys were talking about him today.
We weren't. Tim was talking about Mike Bullard.
Well, we were talking about people who were famous, or we thought were famous.
No, who you thought were famous.
Oh my goodness! Now,
why did you kill Mike Bullard?
I see some people have announced it even 12 hours ago. So this may have already happened before we had our conversation. But CTV News just posted about it a couple of minutes ago.
Heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
Your fault.
I'm actually kind of shook right now.
Do you feel worse about this or Maggie Smith?
I take no responsibility.
It sounds like you feel like you're taking responsibility.
Mike Bullard was younger, so you should feel worse about this one, I would say.
How old do you think Mike Bullard was, Tim?
Well, I know because I saw the tweet, and it says now he's 67.
Was 67. That's correct.
We were chatting about this today at the house.
I haven't heard his name in years.
We were just
years.
I don't even remember the context. We were talking about what was the Canadian? We were talking about whether Man Tracker was real or whether that was all fake. And I said to Pat, I thought Man Tracker was a legit show and that he was actually chasing down the people he was trying to find on Man Tracker.
He was chasing the people down. The people were being followed by an entire fucking camera crew.
And then Pat made the point that this is on a Canadian television channel and no one knew who he was. And I said, that's like saying no one knows who Mike Bullard was.
Oh. I feel like there's a few.
Oh my
don't
goodness.
know who he is.
I'm rattled right now.
You might not want to admit it, or you might not have meant to do it, but you're a murderer. You're like Larry.
Wow,
Mike Bullard. Hardly knew ye. Many people are saying that you have a PhD in death.
Oh my goodness.
Let's guess the week 7 spreads. Meaney, would you like to go first, second, or third?
I'll go second.
Okay. And I'll go first. Tim, you go last?
Sure.
All right, Paul, let's go.
God help us. We've got the Denver Broncos taking on the New Orleans Saints.
Oh boy.
A non-divisional game for a change.
The Sean Payton Bowl.
Oh, the Sean Payton Bowl. Nice.
I'll say New Orleans by 1.5.
Nope.
Meaney.
Saints by 1.
Nope.
Pick 'em.
The spread is listed as a -1. I mean, Tim gets it, I guess, anyway. It's -1 Denver.
Okay.
But
That makes sense.
It's actually a pick 'em on the money line, so he's kind of dead on. But because he went third, he only gets 1 point anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if the spread says 1, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. Who do you like there? Do you like Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler better?
Oh, I like New Orleans. Oh, sorry, Meaney. Sorry.
No, I'll probably just lean Denver, and they got a better defense. I don't know.
No, I can't lean Bo Nix. I just don't want to be on the same side as Bo Nix. Because if it's 10-0 New Orleans, well, that game's over then.
You don't think about that on the other side?
No,
Yeah,
I mean, New
first to
Orleans can
10.
score points with Spencer Rattler. They scored a bunch of points today.
Well,
Like, it was all in the second quarter, but
Kind of. They had a
We're
kick
weird-
where they had a punt
weird.
return touchdown, then Baker turned it
Yeah.
over on 4 consecutive drives.
Yeah, it was weird. It'll probably be without Chris Olave.
Yeah, the concussion probably keeping him out. All
Offensive
right, next
line
game.
is trash. Yeah.
We got the Patriots at the Jags in
London, Meaney.
Oh man. I say the Jags, as bad as they are, I'd say that they're favored by. I'm gonna go Jags 4.
Nope.
no, it's too much, I think. Jags 3.5.
Nope.
Jags by 3.
Jags by 5.
Bet the Patriots.
No, but like this is like the Widowmaker spot that Jeff always talks about, right?
It is, but listen, as I was told again this week by Pizzola, that the Jackson would have such an advantage this week because they knew where the ice machine would be at the hotel that they were staying at. They're so familiar with London. Now think about everything they'll know about London after being there for a week. They might not even know like the concierge's name. How could they lose? They're terrible, by the way.
Yeah, Peterson's,
I don't-
Peterson's not getting
So
on the
bad.
plane if they lose to the Patriots.
No, I told you, he has to swim home.
He's getting solid for sure.
Yeah. And even like the play calling, Dearness Johnson's out there. Why is Dearness Johnson out there in red zone packages? Like it's he's lost it. And
What a great
and the only
place-
reason he's a coach is because Nick Foles won him a Super Bowl.
What a great place to be fired. They fire you in London, great. I'm then going to Paris for a few days, and then I'm going to Barcelona for a few days, and then I'm going to go to Berlin, and then I'm going to go on a European vacation because I've been fired.
That's what you would do, guy who had to get home and not leave his house for 5 days after being away for 4 days.
Look, first we were away for 7 days. Secondly, if I were a multi-millionaire who was just fired from his job and is going to get getting paid for the next year and a half, and I'm already in London, then yes, I would extend it out and have a vacation.
No, you wouldn't. You'd go straight home and eat
No.
like a bowl, beat like some Chef Boyardee or something. The money isn't the reason that you don't go on these massive travel vacations.
No, I just want to be home.
Why? Yeah.
I'm not a traveler. I like to be home. That's where I belong. That's home.
I enjoy you adding the lisp into Barcelona as well.
That's
Yeah,
not a
it was
lisp. It's how it's
impressive.
pronounced.
Yeah.
If you have a lisp.
No, it's just
you're
how very unworldly of you, Patrick.
Well, you're not speaking in Espanol, Tim. You have to if you're speaking.
I believe
in
it's
English, you say it in
I
English.
believe it's a Catalan accent, actually.
Well, you didn't say it was Paris. You said it was Paris.
No, that's right.
But you're Barcelona. Mocking
Barcelona.
is what you're doing.
No, I'm pronouncing it the
No,
way
you're-
that
Then why didn't you pronounce Paris that way?
I don't know, just nobody does that.
Why do you hate Paris?
I don't dislike Paris. I like Paris, but on one of the best Olympics we'll ever see.
Next game.
I just assumed Tim was choking on his secret McDonald's hash browns when he said
No,
Barcelona.
I
and he
ate
choked.
some frozen. I ate frozen pizza today, Paul. That's what I had when I came home.
You haven't had McDonald's?
No, like
one's
the one
buying
you put in
it.
the oven.
No one's buying it.
No,
That's why
I won't.
People in the chat are saying that's why you didn't share your camera today. It's that you're surrounded. You're surrounded by a bunch of coffee cups and hash brown wrappers. Sources say Sammy M.
Well, if anybody knows me, they know that I can't stand waste. And even if I were doing what I was being alleged of, that would be in the receptacle where it belongs.
The Rathethical?
Zing. All right, we got
Sorry,
the
that's how they pronounce it in Mallorca. Next game.
we got the Bengals at the Browns.
Oh, what an awful game.
Tim, it's your go.
Bengals at Browns. Bengals by 4.
Nope.
Bengals by 2.5.
Nope.
Bengals by 4.5.
Ding ding ding.
Oh, Meaney.
Let's go.
Meaney's up 2-1, and I got 0. I'm awful at this game.
Me too. I lucked into that one.
Lions at Vikings.
Ooh.
Lions by 1.5.
Nope.
Man, I think Vikings by a point.
Nope.
Vikings by 1.5.
Viking ding ding ding.
Yeah, Minnesota can never be the underdog there.
No Aiden
I'm taking
Hutchinson
Detroit on the
too.
money line.
No, not a 5-0.
There's no
at
way.
home. Not
There's
a
no
5-0
way that
at
the
home.
Bears should have been an underdog against Jacksonville. But hey, it
Yeah,
turned
but
out that way.
but Jacksonville knows where the ice machines are. Okay.
That was a weird line. I'm glad you guys said something about that. Like Chicago never even thought twice about the Jags today, and I'll be taking the Lions on the money line.
Yeah, I like the Lions in this game too.
Like
Although, like I said, if they can dial up enough pressure, Goff can look really bad. I just think they run the ball so well now.
See if Aaron Jones is ready to go.
I don't think he's going to be. I think it's going to be Ty Chandler again.
Yeah, that's not good.
And Surtain's probably out for Thursday night as well, by the way, which is bad news. Not that he's like actively taking anyone out. I suppose if Olave is out, maybe just a wash anyway in Thursday night football, but their defense looked a lot worse when he wasn't in the game.
That's a good point. He's one of the top corners in the NFL.
Yeah. Next game, Paul.
We got the Texans at the Packers.
All right. It's a decent game.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Texans at Packers. Okay, I'll say Green Bay by a point.
Nope.
-1.
Tim?
The classic 2.5, I think.
Nope.
What'd you guess, Meaney?
I said Green Bay -1.
It's probably 1.5. I'll say Green Bay by 3.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
It is starting to shade towards the 2.5 though.
I can see that. I like Green Bay in that game. Everyone's going to like Houston. Houston finally looked good today and beat the crappiest team in the league. So let's see if they can continue the momentum going forward with that.
Houston beat the Bills this week. I thought they beat them last week.
You think that the Bills are worse than the Patriots?
No, just taking
that
taking a gratuitous shot at Buffalo.
That joke's going to look pretty stupid come Monday night now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Like that would be the first time that's ever happened to me.
Were those injuries serious? Sorry to jump in there. Were those injuries serious to Jaden Reed or Wicks? Like I know Reed left. I still don't know what he left with. I'm not sure.
I thought Reed came back.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought so. I stopped once that game got completely out of control. I just stopped watching it.
No, because there'll be a different offense. I know they have some decent guys, but there'll be a much different offense. So he's so good, man. And the way that they use him, I know a lot of people compare Debo, and that might feel kind of lazy analysis, but the way that they use him is very much like Debo to the backfield bubbles. It's just like it really the offense is him with like secondary pieces. So
yeah, so we'll get an update on Wicks to see if he's okay. The guy in the chat does say, Tim, that have you seen the new Wendy's commercial promoting drinking Coke at 7:45 in the morning?
No, I haven't. But I had already proved to you people earlier, like a year or so ago, that Coke was Diet Coke was being advertised as a morning drink. So
imagine how much of a fucking addict you need to be to drink Diet Coke or any sort of soda in the morning. Good
I've done it
Lord.
many times.
Yeah, no shit.
Call myself an addict.
You're most definitely a Diet Coke addict.
I don't know if I'm an addict.
You're
a
basically
fan.
John Daly. You got cigs and Diet Coke.
No, that's not true.
scrambled eggs, pancakes, and Diet Coke.
I mean,
Diet
that sounds
Coke.
delicious.
my
Oh
God.
man, I could never have Coke in the morning.
Oh, you say that.
Just,
No,
Like-
yeah, I say that because like I haven't had it in 40 years of my life.
Try it.
oh,
No,
that's just disgusting. Next, whose pick is it?
it's Tim's.
How's
I
it
think.
any different than having a mimosa? But anyway,
A mimosa is like a celebratory thing. People are like, "Hey, it's 7:45. Let's have mimosas." You drink a mimosa like when you go to brunch with people.
Yeah.
If you have mimosas by yourself at home every morning, you have a drinking problem.
true.
Next game, Paul.
We got the Dolphins at the Colts.
Ugh.
And it's my pick.
Oh, this should be a crime to put this on TV.
Oh no, Tim, it's your pick.
Oh my goodness. Dolphins at Colts. Colts by 3.5.
Nope.
Colts by 4.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Nice.
Jumping into the lead, 3-2 on a roll.
What a gross game. What a gross game.
And I like Miami.
I'm guessing Richardson's going to be back for that one.
I really like Miami then.
There was a drive. I can't remember which drive it was today, Chris, where Flacco, I think, threw 3 picks and they all got overturned.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. And as much as we, in the fantasy community were like, yeah, Flacco, for Josh Downs and Michael Pittman, he's awful too. And the Colts, as bad as Anthony Richardson's been, and I agree with Tim, like I'll probably be on Miami if that's 4.5 and it gets to 5 or something like that. But yeah, Anthony Richardson hasn't been all that impressive either, but they need him under center and need to develop him. And Flacco, they can't be having Flacco out there. He had a brutal game, actually.
Next one.
We got the Eagles at the Giants. They pulled it off
And
the
this one's
board,
mine.
but I looked at another book right before they pulled it off the board, so I got the number.
All right. Eagles by 2.5.
Nope.
I always forget the books love the Eagles.
They do. I was on Cleveland spread today too. Eagles 5.5.
Nope.
4.
It's 3.5.
That's me.
So Tim gets that one. 3-2. Next game.
Seattle at Atlanta.
Meaney.
Atlanta 3.5.
Nope.
2.5.
Nope.
3.
Ding, ding, ding. He
Takes
middled.
guts.
He middled them. Takes a
That
lot
is
of
Gilbert
guts to do
Arenas confidence
I
right
was,
there.
for-
Tim.
I was poker style. I was forcing you to attest for all your chips, and you called.
Nailed it.
Well played.
Next game.
We got the Titans at the Bills.
Tim.
At the Bills, we haven't seen the Bills yet. I would guess Buffalo by 7.5.
Nope.
Buffalo by 7.
Nope.
Give me the Bills by 8.
It's 8.5. So Meaney wins.
8.5.
The Titans
Will
are
Levis
so bad.
actively gives away games. He's so bad.
Yeah.
He is
And he
brutal.
killed that poor old man on the sidelines today.
Oh, that was terrible.
his
That's
only
terrible.
highlight of the day was killing that poor
And they
sideline
kept showing
official.
that poor fellow on the sidelines. Like he was clearly in pain and his leg was broken. Poor fellow.
He also killed Calvin Ridley. This guy's got like 2 catches in 3 weeks or 3 games. Is just
Yeah, there was a
non-existent.
I was as the game was going on, it was just like, yeah, Calvin Ridley's run 21 routes today, has 8 targets, has 0 catches. Like,
Oh man, we have a
tough
stat
scene.
at FTM Fantasy called prayer yards, and it's just what you would imagine what it is. It's like uncatchable yards. He's near the top. Like he gets targets all the time. It's not like Cooper where he's dropping them. They're just uncatchable because they're so bad. And I don't know, man. Like you're a wide receiver. I'm sure there was other teams across the league that were giving him some money. Like, did he just say, okay, I'll take the most money I could get to go play with Will Levis and the Titans? Because he's not gonna. He may not even crack 500 yards this year, and he should be a 1,000-yard wide receiver.
next game.
Panthers at Commanders.
Tim, this is you?
Is it?
I think so.
I think so too.
Or is it me?
Okay.
No, it's me because you just guessed that game. So
Okay.
Panthers at Commanders. Commanders by 7.5.
Nope.
Good guess. Commanders 8.
Nope.
8.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
You son of a bitch.
4-3-4 is the answer right now. Well, who got the Bills one? Was it Meaney?
Yeah.
No, so it's 4-4 going into these final games. This is a dead heat.
Wow. Who's up? Me?
You're up first here.
Raiders
Yeah,
at Rams.
Oh my goodness.
Cooper Kupp might be back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking in my head. I'll say Rams 5.5.
Ding, ding, ding. That's a
Nice.
two-pointer for Meaney.
Much higher than I was going to guess.
That was huge.
What was it?
5.5.
Oh my God.
I was going to guess 3.5.
But no, Burrow just had a 50-yard touchdown run.
Really? A 50-yard run from Burrow?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta watch that. That's must-watch TV. It must have been so funny to watch.
How'd that happen?
47-yard first touchdown, Joe Burrow.
Holy shit.
T. Higgins did have the first catch for the Bengals, though.
Nice. Man, that
All
probably
right, let's speed this up. Last few, Paul.
We got the Chiefs at the Niners.
Tim?
Chiefs by 1.
Nope.
Niners by 1.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Very nice.
To pick them
I
on the
think
money
that'll-
line.
Yeah, that'll be Chiefs by 2, 2.5. By about 2, I would bet you by kickoff, 2.5.
Yeah, especially if we don't know about the Jordan Mason news. Next game.
Jets at Steelers.
Oh, boy. Steelers by 1.
Nope.
I'm gonna say the Jets by 1.
Nope.
Steelers by 1.5.
So Tim wins. It's 2. It's 2.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
it.
All right,
I guess
6-6-5.
the
How many games are left?
2 left. 2 Monday Nighters.
All right. Did we
Baltimore.
do?
Oh,
Wait, did we do the Raiders and the Rams?
yep.
Yes, that was
Yeah,
the,
Meaney
that was the
got
game
it.
Chris
Meaney
nailed.
got,
That's right.
Meaney got it on the
5.5.
first try.
Yeah.
Ravens at Bucks.
And it's Meaney first?
Yeah. Ravens at Bucks. Ravens 3.5.
Nope.
Feels off.
4.5 for Baltimore.
Nope.
Ravens by 5.
It's 4. You should have middled them again, Pat.
I thought you were going to.
That would
So
have
Chris
guys
and
both-
I split it.
You guys both get it, yeah? So it's 7-6-6 going into the final game with Tim picking first.
We
Okay.
got the Chargers at the Cardinals.
Chargers by 2.5.
Ding, ding, ding. Tim.
Yes.
Oh, Tim pulls out the win.
Wow.
Right.
8-7-6. Tim wins again. And that brings him to 4 on the total this year. Congratulations, Tim.
That was a real battle. That's the first genuine 3-way battle like we've had.
Well done. Well
Las Vegas versus the Rams. No fan base will show up if it was on a neutral site.
done. Yeah, that one's been tough. The Raiders are tough to watch. I'd say like they're probably the toughest team to watch in football. Like even with the Pats being so bad, at least now like you got Drake May there, you got a young quarterback to kind of watch. Like what do the Raiders have without Adams?
I could watch the Patriots struggle every single game in primetime. That would make me so happy.
I bet.
If you had to start a franchise and you only had to choose between Will Levis and Aiden O'Connell, who would you choose?
Will Levis, Aiden O'Connell can't play.
I agree.
Can't play.
Yeah. As
He's a
bad
no-
as Will
he's a no
Levis is,
chance.
It's him.
Yeah.
It's him. Yeah. There was a game last year where Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass after the first quarter.
There was a game
went
he started
3
last year where
quarters
they
without a
lost
pass.
3-0 to the Vikings last year in a game. 3-0 was the final score of that game last year. He started.
There's reports now that they may not even trade Adams.
Yeah, Adams wants to come back now that AOC's starting.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure. Good
You
luck.
did, well, Cust said, you told us, man, he doesn't even want Adams anyway.
I don't really want him. That's not where I want us to invest our money. It's not what we need.
The moment he said he didn't immediately want to go to the Jets, Cust was out.
I don't want him anyway. The Jets have other needs that are far more significant than wide receiver. We already have the best receiving core. I don't need it anymore.
So you still attest that the Jets have the best receiving core in the league?
Just about. I'll take my guys against anybody's guys, and I feel like I'm going to win.
Shocking.
Meaney, would you say they have a top half receiving core?
I would say maybe top half, like in the middle of the pack. Yeah, I'm not saying that Alan Lazard and Mike Williams are good enough to put them inside the top 10. I mean, you got the Bills who have 3. There's lots of teams, even Miami with just Tyreek and Waddle's better. The Texans,
yeah, tons
Niners,
Seahawks, Lions,
even the Eagles with just 2 guys. I would take that, AJ and Devontae.
Yeah, I mean the Jets have 1 guy.
Yeah, and Rogers' buddy, Lazard.
Yeah, I mean
Mike Williams is not the same guy. If Mike Williams could just be like 75% of what we've seen from him, maybe 2 years ago,
still 100%. He's still getting healthier.
As Eric points out in the chat, the Bears have a better receiving core.
Yeah, the
Bears have an excellent receiving core. The Bears are one of the very best teams, and people don't give them their due credit. That's fine. Don't have to till it's time.
This guy, Grabaka Mech, says that poor guy on the sidelines from Levis looked like Cust trying to tackle Derrick Henry. Be careful, Grabaka Mech. You might get Mike Bullarded here in a minute. So
I can't believe that.
Well, striking fear into hearts of others, making their hearts attack, and them no longer a part of the land of the living. That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience for Sunday Night Live. There may or may not be a Sunday Night Live next week, but I'll have a newsletter coming out later tonight with the full injury report. Then I'll be back on Monday with Jake doing the power rankings, the full injury recap. So please sub to the Pat Mayo Experience, sub to the channel, and smash the like on the way out. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.